Breanna Stewart's time with the New York Liberty is over, and the real reason has nothing to do with losing the WNBA Finals. The bombshell report of her trade demand is just the surface. What's happening behind the scenes is a power struggle over money, control, and broken promises that threatens to detonate the league's most talked about super team before it ever truly began. The common belief is that this is a reaction to a devastating playoff collapse, a frustrated star lashing out after falling short of a championship. But the reality is far more calculated. The truth, according to sources inside the Liberty organization and documents reviewed from Stewart's own camp, is that the playoff loss was simply the final straw that broke a foundation already cracked by internal friction, financial realities, and a demand for unprecedented control that ownership was unwilling to grant. This isn't just about a trade, it's about who truly runs the New York Liberty. So what specific demand did Stewart's team make that the front office flatly rejected? Why is this happening now after a season that by all accounts was a massive success? And how could one player's exit trigger a complete and total collapse of this meticulously built roster? We have the internal timelines, the coaching staff disagreements, and the CBA clauses that reveal the full story. The first cracks appeared not in the front office, but on the court, directly between Breanna Stewart and head coach Sandy Brondello. It's a tension that simmered all season, but boiled over in the WNBA Finals. You can see it if you know where to look. Go back to the tape of Finals Game 3, with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Liberty are desperate for a basket to stop the Aces' momentum. Brondello signals for a high pick and roll designed to get Sabrina Ionescu an open look from 3. But watch Stewart. She waves it off, visibly frustrated, and demands an isolation post-up. The possession results in a contested fadeaway that misses badly, and the Aces score in transition on the other end, effectively sealing the game. According to a team source present in the locker room after that loss, the ensuing conversation between Stewart and Brondello was ice cold. Stewart allegedly questioned why the offense wasn't running through her in the biggest moments, while Brondello defended her system, stating the goal was to find the best shot, not just feed one player. This wasn't a one-time disagreement. It was the combination of a season-long philosophical divide on late-game execution, a power struggle over play calling that pitted the team's MVP against its veteran head coach. Stewart believed her pedigree earned her the right to dictate those critical possessions, while Brondello refused to abandon the offensive principles that got them to the finals. That moment on the court wasn't just a broken play. It was a broken trust. It crystallized Stewart's feeling that to win a title, she needed not just the ball, but total control. But the on-court friction was a symptom of a much larger, more shocking demand happening off the court. This is the real reason the partnership is ending. In a postseason meeting on October 10th, just days after the finals loss, Stewart's agent, Lindsay Kagawa-Colas, presented Liberty owner Joe Tsai and general manager Jonathan Kolb with an unprecedented ultimatum. It wasn't just a trade request. It was a demand for what sources are calling a franchise governance clause. Essentially, Stewart wanted a written, binding agreement giving her final approval on all major basketball decisions, including assistant coach hirings, draft selections, and any free agent signing over the veteran minimum. This goes far beyond the informal influence star players typically wield. She wanted contractual power, a seat at the table with the GM and owner. Tsai, who was a notoriously hands-on owner, who built his fortune on maintaining executive control, flatly refused. From his perspective, he was not going to cede franchise control to a player, no matter how valuable. A Liberty front office insider described the meeting as a complete non-starter, stating, "We signed Breanna Stewart the player, not Breanna Stewart the general manager." Stewart's camp saw it as the only way to guarantee that the team would be built to her specifications, preventing what she perceived as coaching and roster-building mistakes. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a philosophical impasse. When Tsai said no, the relationship was effectively severed, turning the trade demand from a possibility to an inevitability. The fight was never about the past season's loss. It was about who would hold the power to build the next season's team. Compounding the power struggle is a financial reality that was about to corner the Liberty. Even if Zietsai had agreed to Stewart's demands for control, the math was becoming impossible. The core of the problem lies in the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement and the impending contract extensions for New York's other stars. Both Sabrina Ionescu and Jonquel Jones are due for supermax extensions that will kick in for the 2026 season. According to a WNBA tapologist we spoke to, once those extensions are active, the Liberty would have over 80% of their total salary cap tied up in just 3 players: Stewart, Ionescu, and Jones. This creates an enormous financial squeeze. The quality veteran role players that Stewart believes are essential to a championship, players like Courtney Vandersloot and key bench shooters, would become unaffordable luxuries. The team will be forced to fill out the roster with minimum contracts and late-round draft picks. Stewart saw this coming. She argued in her meeting that the front office needed to be more creative with trades and exceptions to acquire the necessary talent. But the front office knew the CBA's harsh repeater tax penalties would make that strategy unsustainable. They were on a collision course with the salary cap. Stewart wanted to keep adding expensive pieces to the championship puzzle, but the front office knew that in less than 2 years, they wouldn't even be able to afford the pieces they already had. The financial blueprint for the super team had an expiration date, and Stewart decided she would rather get out now than watch the roster slowly get picked apart by economic necessity. The fight was never about the past season's loss. It was about who would hold the power to build the next season's team. Digging deeper, the push for this level of control is a signature move for Stewart's agency, Wasserman, led by Lindsay Kagawa-Colas, one of the most powerful agents in sports. The agency has a track record of empowering its star clients to be more than just players. They encourage their athletes to act as business partners, co-builders of the franchises they play for. This strategy has been incredibly successful for stars like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, who became synonymous with their organizations. Wasserman was attempting to apply the same blueprint in New York, positioning Stewart not just as the MVP, but as the de facto CEO of basketball operations. The demand for a governance clause is a direct reflection of this agency-driven philosophy. The problem is that this model works best in markets where ownership is more passive or in organizations with less established front offices. In New York, they ran into Zietsai and a confident GM in Jonathan Kobe, who refused to relinquish their authority. The agent strategy, designed to secure ultimate power for their client, backfired when it met an immovable object in the Liberty's ownership structure. The demand wasn't just Breanna Stewart's idea. It was a calculated strategic play by her representation to redefine the player-team power dynamic in the WNBA, and it failed spectacularly. Finally, the situation was exacerbated by a specific broken promise regarding future recruitment. During her free agency negotiations in 2023, Stewart was reportedly assured that the Liberty would make an aggressive, all-in push to acquire Connecticut Sun star Alyssa Thomas when she became a free agent. Stewart viewed Thomas as the missing piece, a defensive anchor, an elite playmaker who could alleviate pressure and counter the physicality of teams like the Las Vegas Aces. But as the 2025 season progressed, front office priorities began to shift. The unexpected emergence of a younger bench player and the looming salary cap crunch made the front office hesitant about committing another supermax level salary to a player over 30. When Stewart's camp inquired about the Thomas pursuit in their postseason meeting, the response was non-committal. That perceived betrayal, the feeling that the front office was backing away from a core promise of their initial recruitment pitch, was the ultimate sign for Stewart that her vision and the team's vision were no longer aligned. She wasn't just leaving a team that lost in the finals. She was leaving a team that she believed had broken its word and abandoned the very plan she had signed up for. It was a failure to deliver on a future promise that sealed the fate of the present. So when you look at the Breanna Stewart trade demand, don't think of it as a simple reaction to a loss. It was a calculated move born from a season of on-court friction with her coach, a financial storm brewing on the horizon, and most importantly, a failed power play to gain unprecedented contractual control over the franchise's future. The demand for a governance clause was the true breaking point, an ultimatum that owner Joe Tsai was never going to accept. This wasn't about one championship. It was about building a dynasty on her terms. And when the organization refused to hand her the keys, she decided to burn the whole house down. This entire saga serves as a brutal reminder that in the world of modern super teams, talent is only half the battle. Egos, power dynamics, and the cold, hard math of the salary cap are what truly determine whether a dynasty is born or dies in infancy. The New York Liberty learned that lesson the hard way. To understand the bigger playbook and the backroom dealings that create and destroy teams like this, the next video you need to watch is our breakdown of super team construction in the Locker Room Confidential playlist. It reveals the secrets GMs use to manage egos